Almost always, the number one attribute from a followership perspective is honesty. Not surprisingly, because people and teams are looking to people not just for their honesty, but their ability to establish a foundation of trust with a leader they're working for. That's very high on the list. It was number three on your list collectively as a group. Some of it was your number one or number two attribute. But just as an aside, it's clearly an important element from a leadership perspective that people feel as though they can trust you and that you demonstrate a sense of honesty and whatnot itself. One of the others that are interesting, I just want to share with you that is one of the, in fact, it's the only attribute on the Posner and Kouzes research that's been changing over the years and actually moving up the scale, while almost every other attribute have stayed pretty consistently in terms of the large sample size, the millions of folks that Posner and Kouzes have researched on this topic and surveyed on this topic. The trait of supportive, being supportive as a leader, has continued to move up that scale. Interesting enough, for you, even the small sample size of the group of the five of you, it was your number one attribute from a leadership perspective. Now, at the moment, Posner and Kouzes really don't provide us any real background on what they believe is driving that. How the supportive attribute is moving up on the scale, but I'd be interested to hear from all of you and what you think. I've had a lot of interesting kind of feedback and thoughts from other classes and groups I've worked with and shared this same survey and research, but it's interesting that the concept of what followers are looking for from their leaders is a leader that's supportive of them. And really interesting, it's again how much it's moved up the list, and it just kind of stood out as it relates to the research and survey responses that you all as a group collectively gave to me. In fact, it was the only attribute that existed on all five, high on your top seven, for all five of your lists. So kind of interesting. It'd be interesting to get your perspectives on that. Feel free to just email me or email the group on what your thoughts are around it. Couple of things as we leave this past module 3 and start moving into module 4. Leave module 3 on engaging others and move into influencing as a leader. I want to leave you with a couple of parting thoughts on this, the importance of engaging others, and it relates to some of the concepts we talked about relative to the article on Connect Then Lead and warmth versus competence. Here are a couple of things I think that might be helpful, just some suggestions on some experience that you may be able to use as leaders to help you if you're really looking to enhance or build the warmth you display and how you work with others. Here's a couple of things that I've found that have worked really well for myself and others that I've talked to around this topic. One would be kind of simple, but take some time, reflective time, to think about before you ever enter a room and meet a new group of people, what you fill a room with. What is when you enter a room, your own perceptions and understanding, or based upon past feedback, what you fill a room with. I think when you take a moment to think about that, it gives you a sense of preparation and how you begin to prepare yourself and what kind of, let's say, aura you give off as you enter a room and meet new people, and how you really display and work and build on displaying the kind of warmth attributes you're looking for to connect with the people that are going to make the choice or not to follow you. Second is, this is really kind of interesting. Try if you would, maybe just pick a day where every single person you meet or run into during the course of the day, by the way, not just at work, but everywhere. It might even be in a grocery store or on a line as you're boarding a plane or whatever else. Treat everyone that you meet during the course of the day like they're your best customer. You know, it's interesting when you think about the preparation we all do as we're meeting one of our most important customers, how, quote unquote, on our game we want to be in terms of establishing a sense of warmth and relationship and connecting with that customer. When you think about just an exercise for yourself of doing that for an entire day, by the way, you'll find it's not easy to stay that engaged and really demonstrate on a consistent basis that kind of warmth. But watch the reactions you get from the people that you have a chance to connect with during the course of the day, and any, well, like I said, whether it be inside or outside the business environment. I think you'll find the reactions to be powerful and recognize how impactful connecting with people with warmth-related attributes matters to how they see you. especially those when you're talking about people that you intend or hope that will make the choice to want to follow you as their leader. Another thought is around the topic of email. My suggestion here is just watch out for email. Communication is tremendously important, as we've talked about in some of our discussions as a leader, and email has a real risk of not necessarily communicating the message you want, and at times creating a disconnection or a lack of connection from a warmth perspective with people that you're trying to really get an important point across. I've kind of used my own rule of thumb that if I'm really struggling to write an email, it probably isn't the right means or mode of communication for somebody I'm working with. It's going to be better for me to pick a more rich form of communication to get this point across. There certainly are times where email makes sense, but my point here is just be careful about email, because I've seen a lot of situations where unnecessary conflict, misunderstanding begins to develop itself as a result of any number of reasons as a result of the email, whether it be who it was copied to or language that was used, not necessarily bad language, but language that was misinterpreted by the receiver. And at the end of the day, as we talked about, communication is about creating understanding. So if you want to create understanding, you got to make sure the words you choose or the method you choose to communicate in achieves that level of understanding. Another kind of maybe experiment is to think about, how do I describe this? Communicate by saying little. And here's what I mean by that. When you're meeting people for the first time or connecting with people, find a way to begin the conversations and make it about them. Big open-ended questions. Ask not simple ones, but things that really get them to think or get them to engage with you, but they recognize you're really genuinely interested in them. And then be quiet and really be an active listener so that you really are using that wonderful opportunity to connect with them and understand more and get to know them better. Kind of along the same lines, I'd add another one, which would be, as I would call it, be here now. In fact, that was kind of laced through a lot of different discussions as we talked about the warmth versus competence article in terms of discussion. But this concept of being present, right? When you're connecting with people, not being distracted, not looking at your phone, not allowing yourself to not be present in the conversation and the connection you're making with people is tremendously important and valuable. So always think about being present, being in the moment. Last thing, and I think I suggest this in one of the discussions, if you didn't have a chance to pick up on it, is what I found is when I was really wanted to do better and be more connective in terms of how warm and connective I was to the people I was working with. I thought about I'm sure most of us have ways we establish our to-do list, the things you want to accomplish during the course of the day, whether that's something you prepare maybe at the end of the day for the next day, or you prepare early in the morning as you begin your day. Think about kind of bifurcating or splitting your to-do list into those things that you're doing as it relates to connecting with people, kind of your people engagement list of to-do items, versus the task-related things that are really maybe specific things you do without necessarily needing to connect to other people, as an example. By splitting your list like that, I found what it helped me to do is, with those things that really required me to engage with people at a human level and connect with them, it helped me to kind of prepare well for the kind of communication I wanted and needed to have with that individual. And it made the conversations and connections that I made with those people, I think, more rich for them and more valuable to both of us in what we were both trying to achieve through the process. So just a couple of additional thoughts.